Strada is a startup that aims to reinvent workflow for creative individuals, partially by leveraging artificial intelligence. Naturally, that means one of the first questions people ask me is, wait, are you one of those people that are saying that AI will replace creative storytelling? Before I answer that, let me share an observation that I've made. Generally speaking, artificial intelligence is really good at solving problems, ideally providing solutions that can be measured as true or false, whether it's Googling a definition, translating language, predicting the weather, or finding the fastest route to a destination. Machine learning and AI can help quickly solve problems, in large part because AI tools are so incredibly easy to use. I think this perspective provides a clue as to how AI may impact the future of the storytelling process. But to uncover it, you have to answer one simple question that every film professor asks their students. What lies at the heart of a good story? Problems. Big problems, weird problems, comical problems, scary problems, unpredictable, seemingly unrelenting problems. Good writing is about crafting a story that introduces numerous problems to numerous characters. And we want them to be hard to solve. But the problems characters face are not measured in absolutes like true or false. They're measured in feelings and circumstances. The best dramatic stories have characters tangled up in so many problems that the audience can't predict how they get out of it. If you think about it, writers search through real-life experiences to creatively invent problems in order to make a character face more adversity along their journey. In short, AI is largely aimed at solving repeatable problems, but humans generate stories aimed at creating them. See, if a story has only one or two problems and they're easy for the characters to overcome, it's boring because there's no threat to the protagonist. But when a story delivers unpredictable twists and turns that create adversity, or better yet, failure, the story becomes more suspenseful and we inch our way towards the edge of our seat, wondering what happens next. It's for these reasons I don't believe that AI presents an existential threat to the narrative storyteller. Writers should continue focusing on throwing an armada of unique problems at their characters and set up elegant payoffs. But I do believe AI will become a utility that creatives draw upon as a resource to sharpen the edges of their writing process and better track complex storylines across multiple episodes or multiple writing teams to be even more efficient. Now, speaking of problems that can't be solved by AI, we've got a big one, and it's pretty much robbed me of any chance of a good night's sleep for the last 16 weeks. Raising money. You should go back to episode 4 and check out how we're gearing up to have our first meeting with a reputable venture capital firm. We nailed that pitch, and I can't tell you how much we're looking forward to receiving some great news. And then we got a correspondence that we were waiting for, and we were told, we love what you're doing, but before we can invest, we need to see a proof of concept and verify that customers actually want this type of product. Okay, so not ideal. But the silver lining is that we've been meeting with other venture capitalists and we did another pitch, but then we got an email. After several conversations, we decided that we're not the right partner for this investment round. Given the extensive product roadmap, we would like to see product development a bit further along. We're running head-on into the challenge of trying to sell the idea before we have a product, which is actually something we were fearful of. Again, check out episode 4. Now, ultimately, we want institutional investors like venture capital firms because they know how to help entrepreneurs build and scale and monetize successful SaaS businesses. But Strada may not yet be ready for that type of investor. But there's one more group that seems really keen on us, and they invited us to meet with them in person.
I have never gone to a meeting where I'm seeking venture capital, institutional money. I had some really good insight from some advisors say there is the same amount of money out there. They're just being more cautious and strategic about where they put it.
Well, we didn't get funded today. It was super positive. It was very encouraging, but it was short of what I was hoping for.
There are some folks that'll say, we like what you're doing, now's not the right time because of our thesis or when we invest. That's one group. Versus the group where it's like, just keep us posted on how you're progressing, give us updates.
That's bad.
That's bad.
Back in episode 1, I published this graph. It demonstrates how people feel when they're experiencing highs and lows. But the high amplitude graph kind of doubles for how visionaries feel about their own ideas. Some days I think Strada is a bulletproof idea that's gonna easily get financial backing. Then there are days where I look at the pitch and I feel this is never gonna work. I know a lot about workflow, and I really want to utilize my experience on something like 150 feature films to help improve workflows for creatives everywhere. But even with that vision, sometimes I feel like no one cares, or that they'll be just fine getting by with what they have. And then I wonder, what makes behavior shift from just getting by to an interest in change? What I mean is, we managed to happily live without smartphones for a long time, and somewhere along the way that changed to a device that we can't live without. What is it about certain technological changes that make life before unimaginable? Will Strada be one of those tools, or will it be forgotten before anyone even tries it? And if venture capital is already suspicious of our product, is that an indication that our product is bad? To better grasp how VC investments work, we need a high-level understanding. When you have an early-stage product that is already released with a customer following and some revenue, you can raise capital from institutional investors through a funding round known as a Series A. The money allows you to hire people to scale the product in order to keep achieving growth targets. Over time, as the business generates more revenue by way of increasing the number of customers, you need to hire even more people to keep up, which drives up expenses. So you need to fundraise again, which is represented by the next letter, a Series B. Over time, this pattern repeats. You raise, you hire, you scale, then you raise again, and so on until you're able to sell the business to another company, or in some cases, go through an initial public offering or IPO on a stock exchange. But Strada is nowhere near a sellable product, so we can't meet the investment considerations for a Series A. So what do you do when you're still an unproven startup and need money to grow it? Well, when you have a foundation of a product and you want to determine customer reaction, you can raise what's called a seed round. This round is good for venture capital to jump in because they can join relatively early and help you grow without taking on much risk, and you don't have to give up too much equity. We talked a lot about risk assessment in episode 6, so check that out. But honestly, we're not quite at the seed round either. So what options do we have left? Well, we could just bootstrap this thing and do everything we can to fund it ourselves. The upside to that is that we retain total control over decisions, we retain 100% ownership, and we can move extremely fast. But the downside to this is that we miss out on thoughtful input from other voices and perspectives. So there's one more option, which is to complete a pre-seed round, which traditionally involves raising money from friends and family. I'm happy to report a few friends of ours reached out and asked about Strada and wanted to learn more. These people come from the entertainment industry, so it got us thinking. Well, what about the benefits of raising a pre-seed round with industry partners? So who could be a great fit? Someone who not only brings financial support, but also brings insight as we work through business decisions. So we shifted our strategy from pitching to venture capital to pitching to industry experts. Glenn Ficarra and John Requa are an incredible writer-director-producer duo. I work with them on projects that they wrote and directed like Focus, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and We Crashed. What makes John and Glenn different is that they're always seeking a better workflow and they're unafraid to push boundaries. They bring the perfect perspective of how AI can help writing and directing teams be more efficient. They're even featured in the documentary Off the Tracks, where they talk about pushing the boundaries of using Final Cut Pro to cut a huge studio feature film. You should watch Off the Tracks. It's a fantastic documentary on how creatives deal with the problems of technological change, or don't deal. Link below. Then we have our friend Nick Mosheri. Back in episode 4, Nick was instrumental in helping us improve our pitch deck. Nick was actually one of the founders of Donut Media, a social media business that targets car enthusiasts. Nick and his team helped grow Donut to over 8 million subscribers. So Nick and his investment team bring exceptional insight into how AI technology can help people who build online brands. Then we were introduced to Jason Fodder. You've seen his work too. Jason was the co-founder and CTO of Fuse Effects, one of Hollywood's premier visual effects companies, which has done award-winning VFX on hundreds of TV series and feature films. Jason helped build an internationally recognized business and brings to Strada top-shelf knowledge about where AI technology can help users optimize their visual effects pipeline. We also met with Panavision. We had a relationship with the CFO and CEO since they acquired Light Iron, which was the startup Pete and I created back in 2009. Panavision is the best in the business when it comes to cinema lenses and camera ergonomics. Having them as a strategic partner is extremely valuable in determining how AI can help the production hardware process. What we like about this group of industry experts is that they bring credibility to the idea as well as business insight. But if we raise money on a pre-seed friends and family investment round, the problem is we don't know how much ownership of the company a dollar buys, since we don't even know what Strada's worth, if anything. Without a valuation, we can't provide these early investors with the appropriate upside if we eventually get institutional investors during a seed round or a Series A. Well, back in episode 5, we talk about tools, and there's a solution within the cap management tool Carta called a SAFE. Definitely check out episode 5 for a deeper dive on Carta. A SAFE is a convertible investment tool created by Y Combinator, which stands for Simple Agreement for Future Equity. As the name suggests, a SAFE provides a straightforward way for early stage companies to secure investments. Once there's a priced investment round, usually led by a venture capital firm, we'll be in a position to assign a valuation to the business, which reveals how much ownership $1 buys of the company. At that point, the SAFE converts to a preferred equity, and our SAFE investors instantly learn how much percentage of the business they own and what their percentage is worth. So, with all these investments tallied up, we managed to raise $1.9 million. It's actually a little more than $1.9 million. And this pre-seed round means we don't need additional investments until later in 2024. Check out episode 4 to see how this new investment aligns with our projected roadmap timing. So yeah, I'm feeling a bit better now with the pressure relieved now that we have the SAFE and enough money to get us to the next checkpoint. But when it comes to building a business from scratch, the idea that raising money solves your problems is like chasing a ghost. The truth is, we're not solely after these people's money. They have something far more valuable. We want their knowledge. In other words, when you're starting a startup, dependable knowledge can be more valuable than money, and that's worth giving up some equity. We've got the right experienced parties investing in Strada. But we actually think there's one more element we need to discuss in order to help set us up for success. Most entrepreneurs assume that they're always right. Well, let's be honest. Most people in general assume they're always right. But when it comes to clocking an 80, 90, or 100-hour work week as I am, you tend to get in a confidence battle with your own mind. For me, I'm constantly bouncing between I'm confident this decision is right and I'm suspicious this decision is right and I don't think this decision is right. Pete, Austin, and I look at our skills as the intersection of 3 important categories in building a tech company: art and vision, technology and design, and finance and strategy. Together, we are highly experienced in all these areas. And while it's tempting to make all the decisions when you're a startup, that isn't always the best approach. We admit there's a lot that we don't know, and it's dangerous for small teams to operate with blinders on. And even though we are always well-intentioned, we all make decisions that lack perspective. We want more expertise, but we can't afford to hire everybody. So that's why we decided to form an advisory board. An advisory board is comprised of subject matter experts who possess skills that are lacking from the business founders. So we outlined our biggest knowledge gaps, and we set out to find people with expert knowledge in those specific areas. And now the strategy of building Strada fully materializes. Pete, Austin, and I serve the company's core needs. Our investors and strategic partners fill in more areas of expert insight, and the advisory board fills in the remaining knowledge gaps. Remember, it's only been 16 weeks from the day we began formulating this business. But because I trust this network of domain experts to help us make informed decisions, our confidence in decision-making has reached a new level, and I can finally get a decent night's sleep. If Michael Jordan, someone with unmatched natural talent, still benefits from access to a great coach, so should we. So, now we have nearly $2 million to hire more people and build our alpha. If you want to sign up for the Strada Alpha, check out strada.tech and get on the early adopters list. And if you want to join the team, check out strada.tech/careers and see if there's a role that you can help fill. Because now that we're funded, it's time to alert the community that Strada is about to become the real thing.